Are you thinking about buying a home in Colorado, but have no idea where to start? Today, I'm gonna go through a step-by-step process on exactly how to buy a home here in Colorado. I'm Kayla Schmitz, the Aspen Collection, and I am your local Colorado real estate expert here to help you with all of your home buying and selling needs. Okay, first things first, and number one on the list is getting pre-approved. A lot of people will just say, hey, I think I know what my budget is. I did a Zillow, what I can afford, but it's so important to get pre-approved with a local lender so you know exactly what you can afford, including taxes, insurance, and all of the things that go into home buying. So let's get you connected with a local lender, and I've got a lot of people in my back pocket here to help you. Number two, know your must-haves and nice-to-haves. I often have my clients sit down and make a list of their top 3 must-haves and their top 3 like-to-haves, because it's really important when you go into the home buying process to know exactly what you want, because it can be overwhelming if you have too many options. Step 3, we are touring and making offers. So a lot of people get super excited and start home touring and kind of forget about making the offer. So what I like to do is set up a buyer consultation or buyer meeting, and we go through the process of what the contract looks like. So before we get ahead of ourselves there, we're gonna talk a little bit about your neighborhoods, and that links us to your must-haves and like-to-haves. So when you're looking for a home, it's really important to think about where you wanna live, where your work is, and your commute time. And then lastly, and most important, is what kind of neighborhood do you want? Do you want an urban house? Do you want a suburban house? Do you want city living? I mean, there's so many great pockets in Colorado. We can even get you out on a ranch and a farm. So many great options. So let's look through all the options that you want to live in or you have to live in, and then we kind of narrow it down from there. And then my most favorite part is getting you in the car and getting you out to look at the home. So I always say start with 3 to 5 homes a day, because otherwise it can be super overwhelming. A lot of people watch the HGTV shows and they're like, oh my God, let's tour all of the homes. And I'm like, no, you have to start with 3 or 4 homes on the first day, so that way you don't get confused. You could really digest the neighborhood and you're not just looking specifically at the home, but the big picture. So, and once you find the home that you love, I'm here to help you to make an offer. And when you make an offer, there's a lot that goes into it. We have to have that pre-approval letter from your lender. And then after that pre-approval letter, we have to make sure that the lender knows the property that we're going to submit on, so they can actually run a net sheet of your monthly payments so you know exactly what you're going to get into when making the offer. Then my job comes in where I call the listing agent and I find out what's important to them in an offer. Is the seller looking for a rent back? Are they in multiples? Are they sitting on the market a long time and it's super negotiable? Can we get you a 2-1 buy down? I mean, I could go on and on about all of the things that we'll negotiate in the offer, but first and foremost, let me do my work on trying to get you the best deal, and then I'll go through some of the contract issues with inspection, appraisal, loan objection, and all of the things that you'll need to know later down the road when we actually submit the offer and get it accepted. Step number 4, and kind of to piggyback on what I just said, appraisals and inspections. So when you write an offer, there's several outs the buyer has in the contract. And just a reminder, your earnest money is fully refundable up until loan objection deadline, which is usually 3 days before closing. So it's my job to walk you through the contract. We look at things like title and make sure you have free and clear title when you take over the deed. Inspection. There's a lot of people that don't realize that we have a lot of older homes in Colorado and some crappy new construction. So first and foremost, it's always important to get an inspection with a certified inspector. And most importantly, my inspector is a certified master inspector. And what most people don't know, and I'm just gonna say this, but most inspectors don't even have to have certifications. So when you have an agent, make sure you ask them, is your inspector a certified or are they master certified? Because it really does matter when they're inspecting your home. They usually last 3, 4, 5 hours, and then you come in the last hour and you get the nuts and bolts of all the things in the home and then all the things that are bad with the home. So that's where I come in to help you negotiate any inspection items. In Colorado, we have very expansive soil, so there's always going to be movement in the properties. And a lot of people don't know that we always have radon. So if your house doesn't have a radon mitigation system, or it does, I still recommend to get tested, because that's super important, because it's the second leading cause of cancer in the metro area because we sit on the largest uranium field, essentially. So a little complicated, but I can walk you through that. And then lastly, I always recommend to get a sewer inspection because sewers can be very expensive to replace. So once we get through inspection, the next step is getting an appraisal. It's an independent appraisal hired by your lender, and they make sure that the home is actually worth what you're paying. And if you didn't know, you actually have to have the home appraised for the purchase price. Otherwise, you'll have to come up with a difference. So there's a lot of different creative ways to get through that. And then of course, the loan objection, which is, setting up for the closing date and all the fun, exciting things and moving in, which I can help you with as well. So that wraps up the nuts and bolts of the contract and the appraisal, inspection, the loan, and all the fun things when you actually make an offer. And number 5, the most important and actually the most exciting part of the process is closing and move-in day. So I always go to the closing with you. I walk you through signing all of the great paperwork. It usually lasts about an hour. You have to bring your driver's license, your funds to for your down payment. And in addition, I get to bring all kinds of fun presents and champagne to help you celebrate. We always do a final walkthrough before we show up to closing to make sure that everything in the house is just as you went under contract with. And then after we close, I walk you back to the house and you open the door and you move on in. So the really exciting part about my job is watching that exciting moment as we walk through the door from the time, that you purchase the house to the time that you close on the house, which a lot of people don't know. It could happen anywhere from 21 to 30 days. Sometimes we have longer closing. There's a lot of different lengths of it, but the average closing is about 30 days. So if you're out shopping, think that you can remember you can buy a house in 30 days and it goes super quick. All right, so that wraps up the most important things to think about when buying a home, and I wanna give you one quick tidbit. Most people think that Colorado is gonna have this crazy market crash because, we're really not seeing a lot of movement in the real estate market. And I wanted to remind you that the average appreciation in Colorado over the last 50 years was 5.4%. Even during the 2008 recession, we barely dipped to a 0.3% in depreciation. And the last year with interest rates being at 8%, we kind of flatlined, but Colorado in general is always gonna appreciate. And so buying a home sooner than later really helps your pocket. If you're thinking about buying a home in Colorado, make sure you have an expert in your corner, or even better, a 5th generation Colorado native that has been doing real estate for over 15 years. Yes, I'm Kayla Schmitz with the Aspen Collection, and I'm here to help you with all your home buying needs. Make sure you subscribe or like the button or message me anytime that you're interested or have questions about buying in Colorado.